The green light. Green Lantern Corps is coming from Warner Brothers in DC. I wonder if that nice Canadian boy with the potty mouth is busy. Stick around. It's Screen Junkies News. Hey Internet, what's up? Hi, I'm Hector Navarro. Exclusive out of Deadline, DC and Warner Brothers are fast-tracking a completely new version of Green Lantern titled Green Lantern Corps, tapping genre stalwart David Goyer from Man of Steel, Batman Begins, blah, 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 and Justin Rhodes to co-write. Jeff Johns will be overseeing, and the plot has been described as Lethal Weapon in space, and then it will be based on a, quote, comic book origin story, without elaborating on which comic exactly. Lethal Weapon, you may ask? Well, this lantern won't just feature Hal Jordan like the previous attempt. It will also star the character of Jon Stewart, not from The Daily Show. I am distinctly not getting too old for this, and neither is this esteemed panel. Please help me welcome from the Trusty Psychic podcast, Mr. Jay Washington.
Thank you.
And from literally everything else on this channel, Mr. Dan Merle.
Hi, thank you.
And over on the social media, we got Charlie. Charlie is going to be helping us with some whatever the internet's saying. Thank you so much for being here, Charlie Feldman. Good to see you.
Hi.
Hi, nice sweatshirt.
Hi. You're still talking to me.
I'm still talking to you. Hi. Guys, we're here to give you guys a lowdown on what exactly is coming from Deadline, what it means. We're going to speculate, elaborate, maybe give you some info that you weren't aware about. So let's just jump right into it first of all, okay?
Yeah.
Question number one to you guys. Is Green Lantern ready for his redemption? We had a 2011 movie starring Ryan Reynolds that was not well received, that I don't think made good money.
Could you use better terms? It was awful.
It was awful. Thank you.
It was horrible. That movie was the worst thing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh my, it was, we all like the Men in Black neuralize ourselves about that movie. Like it never happened. What happened was Ryan Reynolds was in an animated suit.
Did you flashy thingy me, Jay?
Yeah.
Did you flashy thingy me, Jay?
Did you flash? I flashed thing myself on that.
Oh my gosh!
But the movie was horrible, and it's joked about so much how bad it was. We also talked about how Reynolds jokes about his own movie in Deadpool, how bad it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, and especially with what they're doing with the DCEU, you need this character.
Mm-hmm. You do. Yeah, and it's funny that this happens today because over on Screen Junkies, we have an episode about the biggest box office bombs of all time. And right on our thumbnail and right in that episode is Mr. Ryan Reynolds in his first Green Lantern movie. And a point that gets brought up there that I hadn't even thought of is it's not just that movie lost money.
Sure.
It's the potential that it lost.
Yes.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in franchise. Green Lantern was supposed to be what Man of Steel was.
Yes.
It was supposed to be the jumping off point for a new DC extended universe.
They had the character of Amanda Waller in that film, played by Angela Bassett,
yes, she did.
which was, people forget that. I mean, now it's Viola Davis and she's crushing it. She was amazing in Suicide Squad, but they were already trying to plant those seeds of a larger DC universe because this was their first character that wasn't Batman or Superman. I think they should have gone with Wonder Woman, but they went with Green Lantern, the arguably third most popular character franchise of DC Comics.
That was weird for them to choose Green Lantern to be the jump off point to say, you know what, let's try. And then remember, the biggest argument also before even casting Ryan Reynolds is which Green Lantern do you use?
Right.
Sure.
Do you go out the gate with Hal Jordan? Do you say, you know what, let's slide over and do Jon Stewart? Do you go Guy Gardner? Do you go Kyle Rayner? It's like different ones. And they were like, we're going to do Hal Jordan.
And even for a while, they were going to do a comedy Green Lantern movie starring Jack Black. No joke. I've read the first draft of the script. It's really bad. But it made sense. It felt like the movie The Mask. It felt like Jim Carrey's The Mask, but just set in the DC universe. And it would have been awful, and it would have been the wrong decision for a character that should have been treated as seriously as a Batman or a Superman. But at one point, they were going to do that, a completely original, Green Lantern character. So, yeah.
It's interesting that this movie's coming up now because I remember now 2.5 years ago at Comic-Con in Hall H, DC was doing their big presentation and they were running through, here's what's coming up. Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman and Cyborg, and then like real quick, Green Lantern Corps just like flashes across the screen,
2020,
and then goes, and you never heard another word about it. You never heard they didn't know there was no, despite the fact that Tyrese was trying to like Sean Young, Catwoman will himself into playing Green Lantern.
He made a bitch so
it's such a push for that.
No. You play cards.
Yeah.
Your card is the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
You deal this. You draw 2 on these suits. Hashtag Tyrese Challenge.
I would have loved to have seen what Common would have done with the role, because people also forget there was a failed Justice League movie directed by George Miller, Mad Max George Miller, to be filmed in Australia, even starring the guy that played Toe Cutter and the guy that played Immortan Joe. He was going to be Martian Manhunter, that Australian actor, but you had Armie Hammer as Batman, you had Common as Jon Stewart, Green Lantern. They did suit tests. test. They were ready to go, and then writer's strike or Australia pulled the plug. Like a bunch of different things happened to pull the plug. And it would have been made at the same time as the Christopher Nolan Batman films.
Yeah.
So that also happened as well. But let's talk about what we know about this movie. The fact that Deadline's reporting that it's going to be Lethal Weapon in space. Lethal Weapon in space. Riggs, Murtaugh in space. We got a white guy. We got a black guy. They're cops, but they're in space. Is this a good idea? What does this mean? What comic book could this be based off of, guys?
I mean, I think it's a great idea. It's interesting that David Goyer's the guy that they've announced. I think that they might add a couple more to the team. I mean, Goyer's kind of their go-to guy. I think maybe they're announcing him because he's kind of helped foster the development
His track
of
record
so many things.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think it kind of adds some levity, which is great. And I think that, and this is not a bad thing, but I think they've seen from the blueprint that's laid out to them, you can go out and do a story that's away from your quote unquote main story and keep a universe, keep everything in the air.
We saw that with Guardians of the Galaxy. We saw a story that was technically set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but had nothing to do with the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. And then it's a payoff for like, we're going to see these characters interact with your favorites later. They're going to come back around. That could happen with the Green Lantern Corps.
It's interesting, like you say, with Lethal Weapon. You know the Lethal Weapon canon. You know how the Riggs and Murtaugh relationship is. One, you have Danny Glover's character, who's Murtaugh. He's about ready to retire. He doesn't need a partner. He gets thrown with Riggs. That's what we're basically going to look at. You got Hal Jordan already established. The Guardians say, no, there's 3,600 lanterns. No, we need 72. Every sector gets 2. Here, you get this guy. And then you have to have this diehard military guy in Jon Stewart deal with this wisecracking Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
So you're going to get
who's like the veteran, which is weird.
Right.
It's normally that dynamic is normally the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you get this weird dichotomy of the new veteran is the younger guy, and you're going to have the comedic elements, but then it goes to where does this plot go? Who's the main bad guy? How are they dealing with this? Again, how does it, tie into everything later on down the line?
What is the threat that is going to require the Guardians of the universe to, and I'm talking DC's Guardians, the little blue guys with the big head. One of them is a woman, but they're all little dudes with white hair.
Ones
and
that
big,
sit like this.
Yes, exactly. That judge everything from their high tables. And Hal's like, I don't have to listen to you. And that's Green Lantern. But what threat is going to be big enough for them to go, there are 3,200 Green Lantern Corps. Every sector now needs a second. Now 7,200. What is this? Is this Sinestro? What is it?
Could be Darkseid. I mean, that's
Darkseid?
who they're building
It could
up
be.
to.
That's what it has
who
to
they've
be
been building up
Darkseid.
to. And,
They're
and it
Thanos,
makes
certainly.
sense. Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah.
It has to be Darkseid. There's no other reason. Yeah, you have the Yellow Lantern Corps. It's not that big. It's not going to require some. But you get Steppenwolf in Justice League, which leads up to Darkseid eventually.
The Apocalypse and the New Gods.
Right.
Yeah.
And depending on the time when they put this movie out, if it's right in between Justice League and Justice League 2, this will be perfect.
It's set up.
It's a perfect
all set up. And then the Green Lanterns come to Earth, and then has the 7 been united? Are they going to be members of the Justice League? Let's get into that. Are the Green Lanterns going to be set up in the Justice League? Or are we going to see a tease at the end of this year's Justice League movie where 2 dudes in glowing green suits show up and go like, we've got a problem? And then it teases to their origin story? Or is Unite the 7 just mean the 7 Seas? Is that what Jason Momoa's Aquaman's talking about?
I would be more surprised. I think it's going to be at the end of Justice League 2, honestly.
Okay.
I think this Justice League, number 1, is so far into development. And number 2, we haven't even met half of these people yet. Cyborg, really, and Aquaman. And I think
And Flash, really.
Exactly. I think this Justice League Part 1 is going to be much more about meeting who we have already. But Justice League 2, they have 2 parts to work with here. And I bet Green Lantern Corps may get massaged.
We might hear references. I think we might hear references, here a
Because we're dealing with space characters.
Right. Because you kind of get the tease the way at the end of Batman v Superman, when you have Bruce Wayne talking to Diana Prince, there's something big on the horizon. So, of course, we know the Steppenwolf thing, but he has this sense now of different things that are going on. So, of course, him being the world's greatest detective, he finds out there's something else in space. It's not a big thing to worry about at the moment, but he knows of it, things like that. I think that's where it can fit in line. But again, there's all possibilities now with DC. Like you said, Justice League is far into production.
Sure.
They're pretty much done.
Sure.
Yeah.
So whatever's going to happen there is going to happen there. I say Justice League 2, they may be in it. Yeah. I don't know if it's just a reference. I mean, again, what we have to see depends on where this movie falls in that timeline.
Yeah, we don't really know yet what this overarching story is really going to be. I mean, we got a little taste of it in Batman v Superman, but
we have some speculation. Any ideas, guys? Any ideas, Dan?
It's going to be interesting because they can't. do exactly, I don't think they can do a big cosmic showdown with Darkseid, because I think that's what you're going to get
In
as
Justice
the
League
kind
1?
of culmination for
Of
the
everything.
MCU.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I think they're going to have to figure out a way, obviously some kind of alien invasion or some kind of cosmic storyline, but I
Yeah.
think it's going to be very...
I think you're
I
right.
think it'll be a little more earthbound. I don't think it'll go out into space. I think it's going to be a little
So
more...
you're saying that the same way that the culmination of the MCU is supposed to be Thanos, Darkseid is that end game for the DCEU, and then in Justice League 1, we might get something where Steppenwolf is the Earth threat.
Sure.
Hal Jordan has already been a Green Lantern. He's in space. He's not. Don't even worry about him. He's not here. Maybe at the end of Justice League 1, we see John Stewart, the human, like get a ring or
That's
something, like
possible,
something
yeah.
to tie into this Earthbound threat.
We don't even have to see him get a ring. We just hear his name.
hear his name.
Hear his name or something.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Okay. Any ideas on what comic book this is going to be based off of, guys? There was a series that was launched around the same time as the new Green Lantern series by Jeff Johns about 15 years ago called Green Lantern Corps that focused on John Stewart, Guy Gardner, other characters. Are we pretty much saying that this is what it's going to be, or is there anything else that's jumping out to you that's comic book accurate?
For me, I'm looking more towards the DC animated films.
Yes.
Those have been great. Let's just be honest. For those who are fans of, if you're fans of DC, you have to love the animated films as opposed to the live action movies. I'm sorry, it's just what it is. They seem to know how to get the comic books together. I can see one of the different, the Extended Night, the Emerald Knights.
Emerald Knights,
The Emerald Knights, things like that they've done with the Green Lantern. They can follow those. Because they won't get the comic book right.
Right.
Go what you set in the animated form.
Yes.
Turn that into live action and go from there. This way you can't go wrong, even though we know they've proven they can.
Right.
But you shouldn't go wrong. Let me say that.
Yeah, and in the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe, that started with Batman the Animated Series back in '92, which ended it with Justice League Unlimited, that had a focus on John Stewart. And Hal was mentioned and sometimes cameoed,
Right.
but that had a focus on John, adding diversity to the Justice League team, but also just focusing on a new character. That's something that the movies could also do. But guys, now we can get to do a fun thing and cast it. No word yet on who's going to be playing Hal Jordan or John Stewart. Ryan Reynolds is probably out.
I think so.
If they didn't go after Christian Bale, who was in very good Batman movies, to be in Batman vs. Superman, they're not going to go after Ryan Reynolds, who was in a bad Green Lantern movie, to remind audiences about that. But let's head over to the internet to what you guys are saying. Charlie, what is the internet saying about who could potentially be cast as Hal and John and whatever else?
So real quick, just
Yeah.
because I have the benefit of a laptop, we've got a quick correction: 3,600 sectors
Sectors, excuse.
and 7,202 members of Green Lantern Corps.
Thank you very much
So
for that clarification.
quick clarification.
Thank you.
All right, we had some amazing answers. I love these answers. We got @Flo_Mikey saying Damon Wayans Jr. as John Stewart
be great.
and John Krasinski as Hal Jordan. Give Krasinski a bone.
Give Krasinski, he was almost Captain America. Give him a bone. He
So
can do
close.
it.
Yeah.
His wife was almost Black Widow. Give him a bone.
He needs it.
He needs
the
it.
job.
He needs it. Those are great.
Musgo HBA says Gosling, go other nice Canadian for Jordan, and Mahershala Ali, soon to be probably
wow.
Oscar contender.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali,
wow.
yes.
Yes.
A great idea.
Well,
That's
it's
a
hard to
fantastic
think of the
idea.
black person to play John Stewart since every black actor is in Black Panther.
That's true.
Yes.
The only one I can think
Michael
of.
B. No. You know who can do it? Chadwick. No.
But there is a
Forrest
Chad
Whitaker.
you can get. Chad L. Coleman.
Chad L. Coleman.
Yeah.
Chad L.
People aren't
Coleman.
familiar. Who's Chad L. Coleman? What do we know him from?
We know him from as Cuddy from The Wire, first and foremost,
Okay,
which
there
you
we go.
don't keep him as Cuddy from The Wire.
There we go.
He was Tyrese in The Walking Dead. More recently was Tobias Church on
In Arrow,
Arrow.
yes.
So he could definitely be a good John Stewart. He knows how to play that stone face, that serious
Mm-hmm.
role. He could be there. Now, your Hal Jordan, you throw that in the air.
Yeah.
You can throw that because there's so
Yes.
many people
Absolutely.
you can fill in that role. Again, the black part is the hardest one because they're like, you're already in Marvel. Like, you're already in Marvel.
Absolutely.
Or you-
It would be kind of funny though to see Ryan Reynolds become like Geek God Supreme and revive two huge comic book characters on the
Absolutely.
second go around. This is not going to happen.
Absolutely.
I think mainly because he was able to do Deadpool because Deadpool's supposed to be funny and he
Right.
wasn't the first time. Whereas
Right.
Hal Jordan not supposed to be quite as funny, and
Absolutely.
the big problem was that he was Ryan.
He was Ryan
That's
Reynolds.
what it
Ryan
is.
Reynolds was not the worst part
Yeah.
about that. He was not the problem.
No,
in Green
he
Lantern.
wasn't.
That suit
Okay,
was the
that
worst
suit
thing.
was the
Yeah.
worst problem, and that poo monster and many other different things. But awesome. Okay, guys, that was a great informative panel. Huge thanks to Jay and Dan and Charlie Charlie as well for giving us all the info that we need. Guys, you can always be watching new Screen Junkies new stuff every single day here on the internet. There's new videos right there. And always be tweeting at us at SJ News for any ideas that you've got for some Green Lantern casting. It's finally happening. Are you excited about it? Would you rather have seen just a Jon Stewart movie? Would you rather have seen them do Hal Jordan correctly? I'm sure you're going to have an opinion because you care about comic books and you're on the internet. So let us know. Tweet at us. Let us know in the comments. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.